for how to get into Twitter these days. Mm-hmm. I feel like when are we live?
Yeah, it's not letting me.
Yeah.
No, I am live. I'm just not live on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Tricky because if we're not going live on Twitter, like literally nobody will see. This is a new. It's yeah, it's a mess. I have no idea, honestly, what the point of even doing this anymore is if we can't post it on Twitter. It's gonna kill 90% of the. Yeah. Was Dom in the chat? Do me a favor, keep a note of just like what we top out at, because it'll be a nice like comparison and contrast. And then I also think it'll lead to us having to try and figure out a solution as quick as possible. Oh, there he is. All right, I have a time of day clock with seconds on it. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I
And
have it up.
and honestly, Abby, like if we're at a point, just say like rap. Who cares? Like the production quality of this is not through the roof. So if you need to be like, hey, start to rap, that's totally fine. When will I know to talk? Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Leading the Charge. Hi, Dom. Dom, you got a
Hey,
nice little glow to you today.
thank you, dude. I appreciate it. I think it might be coming from turning on every single light I could find inside my hotel room. So thank you. It's a Midwestern glow. You know, it's a little different.
Yeah, it's a little. Is it an hour behind there? Am I
No,
right? Is
I thought the same, dude. My time zone is so bad. I thought like Cincinnati was an hour behind us. It is not. Indianapolis is East Coast, so it was
okay.
nice.
Well,
I didn't have to. I didn't have to worry about meeting my deadlines for the 6 o'clock and having a panic attack doing so.
I feel like I've been to Indianapolis enough times that I should know whether or not the time is the exact same it is here. But, you know, I guess we live and we learn, and we'll have this exact same conversation in a year. I should probably start by saying hello, everybody. I'm Matt Beauvais. That is Dom Tibbetts. Dom looks like he's in a hotel room, I think. I'm in our upstairs studio. How's the hotel? Is it nice?
It is. Can I just say real quick? So, Matt, prior to getting to Channel 7, I was pretty indifferent on hotels. I was not loyal to any brand. Matt persuaded me to become a Marriott guy, and I've been
Yep.
very pleased with Marriott.
If they're
I'm
listening, hey, we'll take any sort of like,
Yes.
hey, you want to throw us a couple comp rooms? We're totally down for that. We will absolutely continue to talk about how much we like Marriott hotels.
Yes, we will. And we also, if they would like to throw comps, talk about Hilton, which is where I'm staying.
Yeah, if you're a La Quinta watching, if you are a Homewood Suites, we're really just down for whatever. So Dom is in Indianapolis to cover the NFL Combine. I always like to say, and I'm borrowing this line from our colleague Sal Capaccio, he says the business of football starts this week. It feels like that's kind of what the Combine is. It's the unofficial start to the offseason, but that means all of these storylines that we have spent the last month talking about are going to kind of start to come to fruition. So Dom, just right off the rip, like, what do you think are the big storylines for the Bills this week?
The big one is just like for the first time in 9 years, there's going to be a new head coach up on the podium. Like we're going to hear from Joe Brady as it really begins. Like I'll call it to kind of go off Sale's point there, the business of football. I'll call this the orientation phase of Joe Brady as the head coach is over. It's time to get to work. It is time for him and Brandon Beane to start formulating what their vision, this collaboration of what they want their offseason plan to look like. And that starts with hearing from him and Beane tomorrow. But I think off the rip, that's probably the first thing that jumps to your head because last year, Sean McDermott talked on a Monday, like before everybody else did. And the year before that, Matt, it was Sean McDermott. And the year before that, it was Sean McDermott. It's different now. Things have changed. Times have changed in Buffalo. And obviously, it goes without saying, too, there are a lot of needs that this team has to address and find some young draft talent that has to find a way to somehow make an impact early in their career.
I think I'm more interested personally in what Brandon Beane has to say. And it's not necessarily that Joe Brady is different or that it's not Sean McDermott up there. I think the reason I'm more interested in what Brandon Beane has to say is because I think he's the one that needs to, I don't want to say win people over again, but with the way everything played out, I don't know how the fan base feels about Brandon Beane right now. You know, there was a conversation was like, hey, did this team move on from the right guy? Should Sean McDermott have been the person to keep his job and Brandon Beane ultimately be on the outside looking in? That's not the way it happened. But what does a Brandon Beane controlled offseason look like, right? Because that's why this happened. They think that they want Brandon Beane to have the keys to the car. Before it was Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott riding shotgun. What does a Brandon Beane offseason look like? How aggressive will he be? Or will it be eerily reminiscent to the things that we've seen the last couple of years? So that's what I want to know. And I don't expect us to get a ton of clarity on that while you were in Indianapolis, but I would like some hints. I would like some little things that we can start reading into a little bit.
Yeah, and you know, position-wise, for those who probably are at home watching this on like the NFL Network, for those who like watching the drills and stuff, you're going to start defensively, right? And like, Matt, look at last year. Their first 5 picks were all on the defensive side of the football, and that is where you start. You start with linebackers and defensive linemen on Wednesday, and then Thursday you transition. I believe you start getting into a little bit of offense. I have the sheet in front of me here too. No, actually I lied, right to everybody's face here. You go right to cornerbacks, defensive backs, secondary. So, you know, Brandon Beane early on here in the time we're going to be here, you're going to get a good look at the defensive side of the ball, where those prospects are there too. And yeah, I'm curious. It's like, you know, so much has been made about wide receiver, and finding something that helps spark this offense continues to get the best out of Josh Allen and James Cook. But I also, Matt, can't help but notice and feel the need to talk about the fact that on the defensive side of the ball, the Bills have a lot of questions that they need to figure out there too. You have a totally new defensive coordinator and a defensive scheme in Jim Leonhard. I think that is an interesting wrinkle to kind of go through the first couple of days here as you see some defensive prospect talent. Is how does Jim Leonhard's voice kind of get into all this, right? Like Brandon Beane has the keys, right? But the defense for the first time is going to pretty much be, you know, in sole autonomy scheme wise of what Jim Leonhard wants. So I have to imagine on that side of the ball, who knows? This is way different than the Sean McDermott philosophy. And maybe Brandon Beane decides to get aggressive and goes wide receiver in the first round. It's an endless list of possibilities. To your point, I'm very interested to see what Brandon Beane thinks is the ultimate path to getting this organization over that proverbial playoff wall.
Wouldn't it be sneakily maddening? It's not even sneakily. It would be maddening for Bills fans if this team once again leaned into the defense and spent a bunch of their top resources on that side of the ball after doing it last year and after doing it really for the last several years. Like, I know the wide receiver thing is not going to go away until they address that position. And if they don't address that position, it's going to be something that people continue to talk about. But oh my goodness, it feels like every year for the last 5 years, the focus has been about the defense and trying to improve the defense. And obviously that hasn't happened, or else we wouldn't be having these conversations. But think about last year. First round pick, defense. Second round pick, defense. Third round pick, defense. Fourth round pick, defense. First pick of the 5th round, defense. They didn't take anybody on offense until they took a blocking tight end in Jackson Hawes.
Yeah.
Like, they need to be spending more resources on the offense, even if it still slightly favors the defense.
Yeah, that was like them last year in the draft. Like when you have to get like, and you're a father, Matt, so you get this. Like when your kid has to you have to give them like vegetables or like food they don't want, and you have to be like, all right, you know, I know you don't like peas and carrots, but let's put a little salt on it. And Jackson Hawes, it's a little salt on the vegetables in this point there too. Yeah, I listen. You and I are SpongeBob guys. What's funnier than 24, 25? Do they go 6? The first 6 picks are defense this year. But I do think though that the results and the deficiencies of this past year, I just don't see how Beane ignores it. I could very well see them in a world where they go defense in the first round, but I don't see how Brandon Beane gets out of the 3rd round without going with a wide receiver. It's a loaded draft class, as the multiple different draft analysts and people I've talked to, and the reports that you're reading online from some trusted, incredible people who do this more for a living than you and I, the wide receiver class is loaded and it is very full of depth. So while you probably find those value Khalil Shakirs in the later day threes, maybe you find one on, you got to find maybe a day two guy, and maybe there's a day one person that sits there with where they're at in the first round, and they go, hey, this is where we feel like this could make the best impact and get this team to another level.
Yeah, for sure. But it's tricky. And that's why the combine is so fun, because all of this could change when free agency starts. And we're only 2 weeks away from that, right?
Yeah.
So the official start to free agency is March 11th. But that's not when it actually starts. On March 9th, the legal tampering window opens, and that's when we're going to start to see, like, hey, it starts at noon. At 12:05, insert player here has agreed to a 3-year contract for $24 million with the Buffalo Bills. It's like, how did they put that all together in 5 minutes? Really interesting, for millions and millions of dollars. But that will have such a direct impact on the combine. Like, if they go all in, let's say, on a couple wide receivers in free agency, if they sign Alec Pierce or Mike Evans, and then they go and sign somebody else, then it's understandable if they don't go and they draft somebody. I just don't think they're going to be huge spenders in free agency either. So it kind of feels like we're going to see the same thing over and over again, where there are some splashes, little things here and there, but then we're still waiting on kind of them to address it sufficiently once they get to the draft.
You know, the other thing too is, Matt, remember last year, I think it was the second day when I was here, is when Khalil Shakir got his extension.
Yes.
That's the other thing we have to pay attention to as well, is there are a lot of guys on this Bills roster who we have a lot of question marks about, like whether or not they're going to get their, would they be extended here? Would they find, their free agents? Would they find a second contract here in Buffalo? Would Brandon Beane? I'd be the two guys that jump at me are David Edwards and Connor McGovern, because of how important they are, right? Like, maybe that's another interesting storyline we get here in the combine, is there's a free agent or soon to be free agent rather from the Bills, that the Bills, this team decides, hey, we're going to keep you here because we feel like, maybe it's a Joey Bosa. Maybe it's McGovern, Edwards, maybe they announced the restructuring of Dawson Knox's contract. There's a lot of different ways to go. And that's the great thing. It's like, to your point, there's no certainty. The combine just begins the utter news cycle that is the NFL, basically from now until what, like end of June, when mini camp wraps up, right? I mean, it's just nonstop, and it's a beautiful thing if you love football.
What is the thing you're most excited about this week in Indianapolis?
Oh, great question. I'm so excited.
Is it a steak?
At St. Elmo's?
Yeah.
I think you and I have the same opinion. But it's going to be a really good steak. And I'm really excited to go to St. Elmo's with our friends from 13 Ram in Rochester. I'll tell you what, last year was my first year going to the combine, and this is just like a football lover's paradise. And it's like, it's a nerd fest, but it's so cool to be around. Like, you have every major network that's represented. You have from print to radio to television, small little content creator studios, again, to the big networks. And that part of it's really cool to like be immersed in that atmosphere. I can see why a lot of like diehard NFL fans want to get here, and like, you're watching the future. I mean, like, I remember, who was it at the podium last year? Abdul Carter, right? Like, just the presence of him, like knowing that's a number 1 overall draft pick that was sitting a podium away from me. And I'm just like looking at him like, oh my God, this young man's life's about to change in a couple of weeks to a month or two from now. So I think that whole part of it is what I look forward to the most. But yeah, maybe the side is the St. Elmo's steak that I will enjoy Wednesday night.
Yeah, and that horseradish that definitely opens up the nostrils. All right, we are going to take a quick break on the TV side of thing. If you're watching on the stream, as we do every week, we'll continue the conversation there. If you're watching on TV, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. How was the commute, sir?
Oh, it was okay. It was not bad. Getting out of New York was a little bit of a little treacherous, little snowy there in the I-90 going west. Kind of just little pockets of snow here and there. But once we got to like middle Ohio, right about Columbus area, we were pretty good. Home sailing.
How long did it take?
I got in right about 4:45. I had one stop at a Sheetz somewhere in Ohio because
Love
of
that
course.
For you.
So probably was 7 hours, 45 minutes, somewhere in that range. So all in all, wasn't bad. Ohio and Indiana are two very tough states to
Dude,
drive through.
Ohio's like the hardest state in the country to drive through. I shouldn't say in the country. I should say in the states that I am often driving through, Ohio just feels like it goes and it goes and it
Forever
goes and it's the same
and
thing
ever.
over and it's flat and it's boring to drive through. I'm not like taking shots at Ohio as a state. I'm saying to drive through, it is a mind-numbing drive.
Yeah, and listen, Indiana's kind of the same way too. But and then Indianapolis just kind of comes up out of nowhere, and you're like, whoa! And then it's like big, beautiful city. Indianapolis is a cool city. So,
Abby, how do we know when we're back? He's gonna text you. Okay, cool.
fantastic. But yeah, overall good trip. Happy to be here. It'll be a good time, and hopefully the weather's a little bit better when we leave here later in the week. But
a little bit of a weird schedule tomorrow. The 2:15 stuff is a little strange.
I'm personally fine with it because McDermott talking Monday of last year at like 5:15 when we had to meet our TV deadlines was so mind-numbingly stressful for me to try to get everything on. But I'll take them back to back and it's fine. And then I'm sure, opportunities for one-on-ones sometime afterwards too. So the content will really start picking up tomorrow. But I did see, I don't have the schedule immediately in front of me. It's going to take me a second to like pull it up. There was one organization, and I don't know who, maybe it was the Colts because they're just the hometown team. Their GM was talking in the morning and the head coach was talking in the afternoon. What a terrible break. And it's like a literal 7-hour gap between the head coach and the GM. At least I would rather take Bean and Brady back to back rather than a huge chunk of time where I just have to like go fill it and do something,
Yeah, I agree. All right, Dom, we're just kind of waiting on when we're coming back here. So
beautiful. We also, we should talk about too, coming back is our good UB representative, Red Murdoch, will be on the podium tomorrow.
Good call. Are you planning to shoot that?
Of course.
Bang. Let's go.
Of course. I'm going to set up at podium 8 at 8:20 so I can make sure I'm in place by 8:40.
All right, 15 seconds. All right, welcome back, everybody. Matt Bove, Dom Tippett. I am up in our studio that we affectionately call Epcot. That's upstairs here at Channel 7. Dom is in a Marriott hotel somewhere in downtown Indianapolis. Yeah. He's getting ready for the NFL Combine. I am getting ready to finish this show and go home and go to bed because I am tired and I have a toddler and I have had a crazy weekend with a little girl who has got a runny nose. And Dom, kids are always sick. Always.
Yes.
This is the thing that you're told, but you don't pay that much attention to. And then you have a child and you're like, wow, they are legitimately always sick.
Yeah, you've said it to me plenty of times before. I think Matt Bouvet calls her a petri dish, which is a very funny thing to say about one's daughter, but it's true though. My mom, this is a football show, but I will say my mom and my dad met working at the same daycare together when they were younger. My mom is adamant about sending like my sister and I to a daycare to be around other kids because of the way it builds up your immunity. You're going to get sick. You're going to be around germs. It's gross. But she says it builds up your immunity. And she always said that was fine. And thankfully, I knock on wood, I feel like I've dodged somewhat major sickness in my life. So, kudos to her, I guess.
This morning, my daughter's nose was running pretty substantially. And for some reason, one of her teachers at preschool is the only one who she feels super comfortable letting blow her nose. So I was like, hey, Ellie, blow your nose like you do with Miss Amanda, like a big girl. She goes, no. And she sticks her runny nose right into the couch and just wipes it. And I'm like, that's disgusting. So I went to go get Zout that we have for our dog, and I'm spraying our couch. And I'm just like, man, these are the things that nobody tells you about. But hey, this is what we signed up for. It's very fun. So this is a long-winded way of me saying thanks for going to Indy so I can, be back with the family and trying to avoid getting sick.
That's what I'm here for. Happy to be here. Happy to be talking NFL, Combine, all that good stuff.
So last year it was Khalil Shakir. A couple years ago, Leslie Frazier kind of like stepped down, resigned. Yeah. I think Bree was here for that year. There's always like a big notable thing that happens. I don't know if we're going to see that this year, but the best chances of it, I think, would be Connor McGovern or David Edwards getting a new contract. I don't think there's a world where they are both back. That is their starting left guard and their starting center.
Yeah.
Pick one. Who do you think is more likely to be back?
This is all on a hunch, but I feel like it's probably McGovern. I feel like the signing Alec Anderson. I know Alec Anderson isn't a guy who has started every game, but has to kind of come in and played as a spot starter, has rotated in and out of the line. He's played some backup center as well. But I feel like the chemistry and the rhythm between Josh and Connor, just because they are the center quarterback combo, is maybe something that Brandon Beane favors a little bit more than keeping David Edwards around. They're both commanding multiple projections, kind of shows them projecting around the same amount of money, and they're both due for a lot of it, and they both earned it. Connor and David have been very good at what they do. And you've done sit downs with them, with our friend Joe B, of course, and the offensive lineman roundtable. Like, they're pleasures to be around, good guys to talk to, but they're due for a payday. And something tells me that I think Connor McGovern is the guy who finds himself sticking around, because you can pick and plug a guy like Alec Anderson, get him maybe into that left guard spot. Maybe you address it in the draft. Maybe it's a small free agent pickup. Who knows?
And there were 2 roster moves for the Bills today officially. They brought back Alec Anderson, their offensive lineman who is very versatile. He could be a guard, he could be a tackle, he could be a center. He plays in a lot of places. He has been kind of their 6th guy for the last several years. I think this year he naturally slides into the David Edwards role, assuming that he leaves. They also brought back defensive tackle Fedarian Mathis, who played some nice football for them this year. I think, once again, that is a guy competing for a job. I don't think he's immediately going to be like some defensive starter or anything like that, but those are the 2 roster moves that they already made. So I asked you between David Edwards and Connor McGovern. Now I'll ask you the inverse. Who could we see let go in the next couple weeks that could either be a surprise to people or that maybe we see coming?
Matt Milano. Not excited. He is a free agent, so it depends on what you mean by let go. But yeah, Matt Milano. I think there might be at a point, and it all depends on the philosophy of Jim Leonard. Like, where does he find the value of Matt Milano per what he's going to be owed as a veteran who played good last year? He stayed healthy, and Matt put in a lot of good minutes for this Bills defense. I think that his time in Buffalo might be coming to an end, because, Matt, we've had this conversation, I feel like, once or twice. I know we've had it at least once since I've covered the team, and I followed the team for a while. And I know this conversation has come up quite a bit in the offseason. Milano, to me, seems like the obvious answer. I think like a weird one would be Dawson Knox, but I think not. I just find a way. I think there's a way Dawson Knox restructures his contract, because I truly think he loves being in Buffalo. His wife is from here. It's something I think just works out for him. So I think the Bills have an easier advantage of trying to get Dawson Knox to restructure his contract for, moving forward here, than it is to fully bring back Matt Milano, because I think Milano's going to want some money, and I don't know if the Bills are ready to give that to a guy who's only getting older.
Yeah, and for me, there's 2 names that I think you really need to keep an eye on if you're a Bills fan this week, and these would not be surprises by any stretch, but they would save the Bills some money. I think they're going to cut Curtis Samuel. It saves them about $6.5 million. He has just not been available for them. And last year, I think he had like 7 catches or something, just not nearly good enough for a guy that they signed a couple of years ago to try and make an impact. The other player to keep an eye on is Taylor Rapp, the safety who was one of their starting safeties going into last year. Then he gets hurt. He misses the rest of the year. I feel like they need to improve at safety, and for that to happen, they could also save some money. So those are the 2 players that I think you need to keep an eye on. All right, we're going to take one more break if you're watching on TV. If you're watching on the stream, don't go anywhere.
I know we're a football podcast here, Matthew, but
yeah, we're going to end with hockey.
Oh, we are? Okay.
Yeah, we're going to end with hockey.
I kind of actually want to talk about this.
Yeah, we're going to end with hockey. Warm milk is like magic with babies, Julie says. Abby, there must have been like some sort of delay when I started talking, because somebody was like, "You on?" and somebody was like, "You just came back on the air." No, it's not anybody's fault. I was hopefully I wasn't picking my nose or doing anything stupid while we were on TV. Whatever.
You're good.
That should have been the first time. Won't be the last time.
That should have been the time I got him to finally be like, you know what? We are going to give Dom Tibbetts a raise. GDAR is a go.
Do you have any plans for the night, like firm plans, or are you just kind of waiting to see what happens?
I think waiting to see what happens. I believe our friends from Wham have already eaten because they got here much earlier than I did. So I might just pop out and go grab something. Dude, I will say I am exhausted though.
Oh, I bet.
I'm very tired. So I'll find some food close by and call it a night. I mean, it's early. I mean, we have first availability starts at 8 a.m.
When does Red Murdoch talk?
I'm sorry, that is Wednesday. But I mean, we start with 2 and 2:15 tomorrow. It's a long day tomorrow, and then Wednesday it's a long day. Red speaks at 8:40 on Wednesday, 8:40 a.m.
Okay, cool.
Yes,
so tomorrow you have a
group.
little bit of time to ease into the day.
Yes,
That's nice.
yes, which
That's
is very nice. So, and we'll hopefully we'll have get some interviews set up. Maybe run into a couple people that I know, see if they can point me in the right direction. If not, then we'll always catch up with our friend Emery when his flight gets in. The travel thing is also screwed so many people up who are flying out of the East Coast and have connecting flights to say like New York and trying to get out.
Mm-hmm.
It's been tough too. So I mean, you were seeing it on the 90 driving remnants of that storm.
Dom, we only have a minute 45 to end the show, so we'll talk about the hockey stuff. We have to be done at 7:26:55.
Okay.
So and I'll be the one to wrap, just so you know.
Yeah. I'll be quick.
Oh, you don't. No, you got time. I'm just saying minute 45, just so we're cognizant of it.
Beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. Yeah, that was I was listening to a couple podcasts. I just was listening to Spit and Chicklets a little bit on the way here.
Yeah?
Just trying to get my hockey fill in because I'm
You
still
weren't
juiced
listening
up
to
from
It's
it.
Always game day in Buffalo.
Of course I was.
That was a joke, by the way. You don't have to say yes to that.
No, of course I was.
I think I'd listen to music. I'm not a big long car ride person, though, as you know.
Dude, you know the Noah Khan playlist was bumping at some point.
Yeah, have you
too.
been listening to? Did you listen to the new Mumford & Sons album?
Yes, I did today. That was the first thing I listened to.
Song with Stapleton's great.
Yes, that and the one with Gigi Perez also really good too.
Yes,
I enjoyed that one a lot.
Our music takes here at WKBW.
Yeah.
All right, 10 seconds. All right, welcome back, everybody. Matt Bove, Dom Tibbetts, a football show, but also we're going to start talking about hockey, especially with the Sabres and the position they're in. 25 games left for the Sabres. Got to finish strong, but obviously a pretty incredible hockey game on Sunday. Where were you watching?
On my couch. I couldn't get up and go anywhere, but I stayed on my couch. I got right up, watched it. I lost my marbles when Jack Hughes scored the game. The loudest person in my apartment building in downtown Buffalo. It was awesome. It was, we're going to get the chance. You'll probably get a chance to talk to Tage before I do since I'm here. But I mean, there's a gold medalist, an Olympic gold medalist in the Buffalo Sabres, which is cool. And it was a really cool moment for the United States and for hockey fans, because I think as somebody who has grown into hockey now that I cover it a lot more, it is really cool to see that sport take off and grow and bring so much passion to maybe a casual fan or somebody who wasn't roped into hockey. I do believe what Mike Tirico said at the end of the broadcast. I think that this will do a lot for inspiring the next generation of young hockey talent to want to come and play the game.
And that's not just for boys, that's for girls. Haley Skamura, Western New York native, Gatsville native. She's bringing a gold medal back to Western New York. Obviously, Tage Thompson, already one of the most recognizable athletes in Buffalo. He wins a gold medal. So this is really, really great for USA Hockey on the men's and women's side for them to both win gold. This is going to be a really, really fun 4 years with both of our teams having gold medals. Canada's going to respond. We'll see how it plays out. That's Dom Tibbetts. I am Matt Bove. He's at the Combine all week. I'm back here in Buffalo. Have a lovely rest of your evening, everybody. We'll talk to you guys soon.